welcome back to another episode of Grassroots Racer. This week I speak to a driver who at a young age of 16 is already in Formula Ford and has already driven at Bathurst. And he's set sights on achieving a lot more. To find out about his racing journey, welcome Jude Bargwanna. How are you tonight?
Oh hey, it's on. I'm pretty good. How are you?
I'm excellent, Jude, and I'm really excited to talk to you tonight. Firstly, can you tell me about how you started in motorsports and how old were you?
Look, motorsport's always been a part of my family, so as soon as I, started growing up, I was brought straight into it. I was always at the track at a really young age, watching Dad go around in circles and all different cars. I got a motorbike at a very young age. I think I was about 4 or 5. Got my first bike. It was a little Suzuki something 50, and yeah, I used to ride around on that at home in the paddock. We lived on a farm, so I used to ride around on that in the paddock. And then as I sort of grew up a bit more, we stepped up into a bit of a bigger motorbike. We got a KTM 50, and then I started racing bikes. So I raced motorbikes for 2 years, and I had a few injuries, broke a few arms and hands and legs, so Mum was like, that's it, So my only next option was 4 wheels, so we went 4 wheels and got into karts.
And for the viewers who don't know out there, what did your dad race?
So Dad did a bit of everything. He started off Formula Vs, raced Formula Fords, he's tested a few V8 supercars, mini challenge, production sports cars, GT3 cars. He's dabbled in a bit of everything.
Yeah. Just quickly back to your motorbikes though. You said that you got a KTM when you started racing the motorbikes. What did you enjoy most about the early days? And what class did you ride in when you were racing?
Look, I think racing motorbikes, the best thing about it was the atmosphere. Had a big group of mates. We used to all go down to the track, all ride around, all have a good day, have a lot of fun. So I raced in KTM 50 series, which it was just a club event down at Mount Kembla. Raced at like Appin motocross track, just a few of the local clubs. I think I raced a couple state events. I think I finished second in one state event, actually, and that would have been, at the age of 8 or 9. And then, stepped up to the KTM 65 series, which was a bit more competitive. Raced that for a little bit and then obviously moved on.
So when you moved on, you did a bit of karting. So why did you decide to go 4 wheels over 2 wheels?
My aspiration as a young kid was always to be a race car driver. It was always 4 wheels. I sort of got brought up with the 2 wheels because of where we lived. My dad raced motorbikes at a young age as well when he was little, so he was always keen on bringing me up on 2 wheels and stuff like that. But when I made the transition to 4 wheels, I really wanted to make that dream of becoming a race car driver. I wanted to make it happen.
You did a lot of karting and you actually had a bit of success. So during your time of karting, what did you enjoy most about it?
I think it was at the young stage of karting. It was like the motorbikes. It was, lots of fun, all your mates, and I really enjoyed that aspect of it. But as I got later on into the karting and we started to step up into like racing nationals and, competitively racing for state titles and things like that, started to get quite serious. But in karting, I really enjoyed the real close racing. Like at a national level, when you would go to a track and there'd be 40 karts, and there'd be a second between 35 of those 40 karts in qualifying, and it was just super close racing. It's probably the best thing I loved about it.
Yeah, when I used to race sprint karts as well, I used to love the close action. Yeah. Did you ever get a chance to come and race in Victoria?
Yeah, in karts, I raced mostly around Australia. I raced in Queensland and Victoria, and then in New South Wales, obviously, numerous times. I raced Race of Stars in Queensland, and then I came down to Melbourne numerous times. Raced at Todd Road for nationals there, and you know, it's a pretty cool track. Like, it's pretty insane. So yeah, I did race in Victoria a couple of times.
And did you only get the opportunity to race at Todd Road, or did you get to go to other Victorian tracks? And did you have a favourite in Victoria?
I went to a lot of Victorian tracks actually. 𝘕𝘓𝘓𝘢𝘴𝘴𝘳𝘐𝘗 and Oakley. Oakley go-kart track was my first ever race. That was a night meeting in the night. I remember I was about 10 years old. My first ever go-kart meeting, and we're having a race at like 11:30 at night. And I'm like falling asleep, and Dad's having to wake me up, you know, come on, we've got your races on, come on. So that was my first ever race. And then raced at 𝘕𝘓𝘓𝘢𝘴𝘴𝘳𝘢 a few times. Yeah, I raced a few different tracks, but Todd Road was definitely probably my favourite Victoria.
Yeah, they're all great tracks, and I remember my first junior Top Guns at night. But because I was in the lower class, I wasn't really allowed to go full into the night, but it was still very fun. You've moved on from karting now, so can you tell me what category you've progressed to, and have you been able to do much racing lately?
So we've moved on now to Formula Ford. So we decided to make the transition end of 2019. I finished off my karting 2019, finished second in the New South Wales State Championship. And we moved on to Formula Ford at the end of 2019. We did a few test days with ball and racing developments down at Winton in the car before we purchased it. We moved on, so we moved on into the bigger sort of league now. So it's really cool. I'm loving it. But you know, with lockdown the past 2 years, it's been a bit of a struggle getting to tracks and things like that.
Yeah, it has for everyone. What have you enjoyed so much about Formula Ford so far? Do you like the racing? Is it really good?
Yeah, Dad's always been really passionate about putting me in a Formula Ford to start my sort of car racing career. It's where sort of he started, or where he thought he learnt the most of his techniques, driving techniques and things like that in. So he's always been really keen to put me in a Formula Ford. And once I've jumped into a Formula Ford, you know, the national level, the racing's so close. It's like the go-karting, you know, you're racing so close, and you're all door-to-door racing. You know, and the scariest thing about it is the wheels are out. So, you know, you're racing so close, but, you know, you touch wheels and you can flip, you know. So it's so close, and the racing is just phenomenal.
Yeah, so Formula Ford last weekend, for everyone out there, was actually broadcasted as a support category for the V8 supercars. And I was watching Jude, and he was doing all right, and he got involved in a couple incidents, and he had a fuel pump issue, but his Formula Ford livery looks super cool. Did you design it yourself, or did someone else come up with it?
So Blaine from 2W07 Graphics actually designed it. He does some pretty cool stuff. He dabbles in a lot of kart racing designs for go-karts, and he started to sticker a few cars. So he designed it, and then one of my mates from up here in New South Wales, Raceline Graphics, he installed the graphics onto the car and did all that sort of side of it. So yeah, it came out pretty good. It's a pretty good looking car.
Yeah, it looked brilliant on the TV. I was watching the Formula Fords, and I actually really enjoyed it. There was a lot of action, and then you went to Winton the weekend that just passed to race the Formula Fords again. So it was really cool watching you guys at Eastern Creek, and I was going for you, but in that last race when you had that accident, I was very gutted for you. So,
thanks, man.
But like you said to me just before we started, you only had 2 days to repair it before you went all the way down to Winton. So
yeah,
good effort.
Thank you.
You've been to Bathurst before, so what were you driving and what was the race?
So I went to Bathurst at the start of this year to race Bathurst 6 Hour. I raced with my cousin Ben. So obviously it's an 6 hour endurance race. They're production cars, so they're day-to-day road car turned into a race car. With some pretty high spec ones, BMW M3s, M4s, things like that. We raced in Class D, which was one of the lower classes, but it was one of the most competitive classes too. Yeah, so it was an awesome experience. I mean, going to Bathurst has always been a massive dream of mine, and you know, being able to take that first lap around there is pretty cool.
You and Ben obviously did a 6 hour. Did you both go 3 and 3 hours, or was there sort of a time limit of how long you could be in there for?
So there was a time limit on how long you could run one driver, or run each driver. I ran for about 2 and a bit hours at one stage in the car in one stint. That was a pretty long stint. It was pretty warm. The one positive was there was lots of safety cars, so you sort of always got a break within about 10 laps, you know. You stop and there'd be a safety car and you'd get a break and you go around and you put your windows down and things like that. But yeah, it's definitely the longest stint I've ever done in a race car, and it got, you know, quite warm coming out of a Formula Ford where it was open wheeler, you know. The wind was, you know, going across the top of you into a saloon car or sedan, and you know, no aircon or anything. And it was like a 30-degree day, so you know, it gets quite warm.
Yeah, Bathurst is known to get quite warm and very hard on the drivers. Was your car lucky enough to run all perfectly the whole time, or did you have a couple issues?
So we were pretty lucky in the race, although leading up to the race through practice and qualifying, we broke a gearbox, so we had to put a new gearbox in the car, and it broke the steering rack, so we had to put a new steering rack in the car. That was a massive mission. The boys were up to about 3 o'clock on Saturday night fixing up the steering rack. We had to get a complete car from Nowra to come up to Bathurst, and yeah, to fit the whole steering rack from that car straight into our race car to have it ready for Sunday. So that was a pretty big achievement that the boys did on Saturday night. But throughout the Sunday race, luckily the car ran faultlessly, so it was really good.
Good to hear, and you guys obviously worked hard and it paid off, because I guess finishing up that first race is almost as good as winning it in a sense.
Yeah.
But do we know what Jude Bargwanna will be racing in 2022 and beyond yet?
Look, I think at this stage we'll be doing Formula Ford again. We'll be sort of, I think, aiming to just stick to the Australian Formula Ford Championship, and yeah, put all our stuff on the line for that, so we can try and get that right, hopefully in a non-COVID affected year, hopefully, so we can get, you know, all the rounds in and lots of racing. So yeah.
Yeah, I'd definitely like to see you back out on track and hopefully back on the TV as a supercar support category, because that was actually pretty cool to see Formula Fords back on TV. But what would you like to ultimately achieve in motorsport?
Dreams in motorsport has just always been to race overseas, always been to do some sort of racing overseas, preferably sort of Europe, maybe America. I'd love to get paid to do what I love. I think any race car driver would love to do that, but it'd be pretty cool to get paid doing what you love, driving race cars. It'd be pretty cool to run like in a big team, like, you know, in a factory back team, like a Mercedes GT3 team or something like that. That'd be pretty awesome, I reckon.
Yeah, that would be a pretty good goal. But to help yourself and I, we normally have things like sponsors and people in the background that help us a lot. So would you like to thank anyone and give them a shout out?
Yeah, just like to thank, you know, all the major supporters: Gulf Western Oil, AFW1 Cleaning Wax, K-Tech Electrical, Tubby's Tyre Power, Bargwanna and Sons Como, and Davis Distributing. They're all big supporters of mine, and I've recently been accepted into the Napa Motorsport Academy like you. So, you know, that's been pretty cool.
Yeah, I'm really grateful to be in the NAFA Motorsports Academy as well. All their videos have been really helping me out lately. So, lastly, where can the viewers follow you on social media and keep up with your racing?
So all my social media accounts are under Jude Bargwanna Motorsport, so you can find them on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter.
Cool. Thanks, Jude. It's been great catching up with you, and I wish you all the best for the rest of the Formula Ford season. I look forward to seeing you on the podium and hopefully back on the TV. If you're out racing again, like Jude, I hope you have a great weekend as well. And remember, everyone, drive fast and take chances. Thanks for speaking to me tonight, Jude.
Thanks, mate.